Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture.
And coming up today, a huge ratings boost for Monday Night Raw.
A huge ratings disaster. Disaster will do for Seth Rollins.
Chris Jericho's mystery partners for tonight's AEW Dynamite have been revealed.
Cody on whether or not WWE are holding the Rhodes name hostage.
And Rikishi and the Samoan Dynasty have put the wrestling world on notice. This is the news.
But we are going to kick things off with a guy we never talk about on this channel. We never mention on the news. We never use for a headline or a nice little thumbnail. CM Punk. He has been all over the place this week. Is he going to go to WWE? Is he going to go to AEW? Who knows? It's the biggest wrestling week of the year.
He's going to go to WWE and do the FS1 show.
Probably. It's the biggest wrestling week of the year, television-wise, so of course he's all over the place. Now, he has made an appearance on the Kevin and Bean show.
Kevin and the Bean.
Which I think might be made up. Apologies to Kevin and Bean, if that is indeed your real name. And he was asked a few things about his wrestling future and so forth. So when he was asked if he was going to be appearing on SmackDown this week, he, in that typical scamp CM Punk fashion, responded, "When is SmackDown? Is that tonight?" Good stuff there from Chick Magnet Phil. And when he was asked about, you remember back in the day a few years ago when The Rock called him after Raw had gone off the air and all that stuff, har har har, nudge nudge, wink wink, good bit of fun there. He said this on the following: "I enjoy The Rock, I do, and I'm not trying to put this out, but do you remember the last time The Rock was in the Staples Center? Let's do it again. When is the show? Next Friday? Dwayne, call me Friday." So, he's doing a Carly Rae Jepsen there, saying, "The Rock, call me maybe," when SmackDown hits the airwaves, repeating that angle. I mean, The Rock's not going to do it, but, it's kind of fun.
He should do it though, shouldn't he?
He should.
I mean, The Rock gives 0 Fs, doesn't he? And, I mean, well, actually, having thought about that, I remember the last time I watched a live phone call happen on a WWE show. It was $1 Million Mania and I wanted to kill myself. So maybe not that, but he knows how to stir the pot, doesn't he?
He does, man. He's one of the best workers of all time in every medium: wrestling, the Kevin and Bean show, and Twitter. So, I'm sorry, Kevin and Bean.
What's your favourite bean?
I mean, the butter bean, probably.
Butter? Okay.
Nice and creamy.
And people would probably go for baked, but I think I'm going to go green.
Green bean.
Healthy.
Yeah, you got to eat your greens, haven't you? So.
Indeed you do. But do you think CM Punk's going to eventually show up in WWE?
I think he's going to make headlines at least once more by the end of the week.
I agree. Right, let's move on and talk about Monday Night Raw. Of course, the season premiere. Oh, it was difficult those 6 days that Raw wasn't on the air, wasn't it?
I know.
But anyway, yes, there's some big news centering around the viewership, which of course has just been going for about, 20 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, good news, it had a little bit of a boost as a result of the season premiere and all the bells and whistles that came with it. Per Showbuzz Daisy?
Showbuzz Daisy.
Thank you to you.
My favourite cow.
She works at Showbuzz Daily. The average viewership went up to 2.57 million on Monday night, which is up from last week's 2.2 million. And according to Shagger Dave of the Wrestling Observer, the Legends segment, featuring Ric Flair, of course, Hulk Hogan, Jimmy Hart, and The Miz on Miz TV, was a huge hit, pulling the best segment-by-segment figures, quote, in a long time. So apparently, bringing back these legends for a payday does actually work.
Yeah, it's gonna pop a number from time to time. We've seen it previously in the past, countless occasions with Raw reunions and Raw's 25th anniversary and all this stuff. Diminishing returns is always an issue with these guys. If they're showing up too often, it becomes less of a thing, as we saw with Stone Cold Steve Austin, who's all over the place these days, and kind of, after the first episode, it tails off a little bit. But yeah, no, good for Raw. WWE put so much effort into marketing this thing, and it has paid off. That's an increase of what do you say, 370k? Something like that?
Yes, yeah.
Really good stuff. Obviously, it's not something they can do every week. You can't have your season premiere every week. You can't have Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair every week. And even if you did have them every week, they wouldn't pop a rating because they'd be normal.
You can have someone getting cooked every week, according to WWE.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see someone try and pass this off as a direct result of the cucking angle continuing. But yeah, good for Raw. It's a good number.
Yeah, exactly. It is exciting times. As you mentioned, this is one of the most exciting weeks in wrestling history. And whatever your opinion of Raw, SmackDown, WWE, AEW, whatever you want to look at it, as long as ratings go up, this is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm going to be that guy and pour a bit of cold water on this a little bit. Talk about Seth the Chef Rollins, the Universal Champion. Unfortunately, some bad ratings news as far as he's concerned. Dave Meltzer done a bit of research, looked at the numbers, and these numbers are available to anyone, anywhere. You can find them yourself if you want. If you think Dave's just making stuff up because he's anti-WWE or whatever silly narrative is in your head. Sorry, basically, talking here, Dave, Wrestling Observer newsletter, Diddly Dave, claims or points out that Rollins segments are the lowest rated quarter-hour segments on Raw and SmackDown all September long. So this guy was getting on the screen, people were tuning out, which means you can't use the it's not him, it's WWE excuse, because people are seeing the guy on the screen and going, don't fancy this, skip away for 15 minutes. Interestingly, about this, like a lot of these segments will have featured what we put over as the hottest thing in the company, The Fiend. So there's a lot you can break down there and so forth. It's impossible to sit here and go like this thing is a complete disaster and all this stuff because it is what it is. But it's not good news for Seth when he's just kind of standing there on screen going, ha, bring it down, you bring it down.
What was it? Prevailed, survived.
Prevalent. Yeah.
4 days. We've just got to get 4 more days through and then he won't be Universal Champion anymore. Because as much as people want to say, well, that's also a segment with The Fiend in, well, it isn't though, is it? Because The Fiend pops up at the end and thankfully saves us from a promo. And when you look at the reaction to even just Firefly Funhouse segments, they get arguably one of the biggest reactions outside of, entrance pops.
Yeah.
Just the fact when they're like, it's coming up later on, everyone's like, get in. So it's not The Fiend, it's Seth. Take the Universal Championship off him, give it to The Fiend in Hell in a Cell, no fannying about.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good metric to point to decide whether or not his run as the top guy has worked. I don't think as phenomenally talented guy, there is absolutely a big role for him near the top of the card, but this ain't it, Chief.
Vince is just going to look at post-WrestleMania, isn't he? Goes, see? This is what happens when you get things that you like. Right, give it to the big lads again.
Big Show, come back.
Right, let's move on now and talk about AEW Dynamite. Because I'm not sure if you know, Andy Murray, but tonight is the first night of the Wednesday Night War.
Tony K coming through, pouring some of that sweet, sweet sugar on American wrestling.
I cannot wait. Myself, Adam Nicholas, and Adam Cleary are going to be doing a live stream reacting to both shows, which is going to be sort of trying to watch both shows and reacting to both. I don't know how it's going to work, but make sure you join us for that tonight. But speaking of AEW Dynamite, of course, there's been a long tease of who is going to be Chris Jericho's partners against the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, and it's finally been revealed to be Santana and Rob Thomas. Wait, no, sorry. Santana and Ortiz, of course, better known as LAX, are going to be partnering Chris Jericho, which isn't really a surprise. Of course, they appeared at All Out. They are now known, and they were sort of teased in the build-up to the show that revealed it, the Countdown to All Elite Wrestling Dynamite special on TNT last night. Having said all that, a great partnership to join Chris Jericho for what is going to be one of the best matches tonight, I reckon.
Yeah, as kind of pointed out by Michael Hamflett in our pre-news discussion that we have every single morning with the great men, this feels almost a bit like Damage Limitation, because I think as soon as Ortiz and Santana debuted at All Out, people were like, well, they're obviously the mystery partners. And if you'd revealed that on the night, a lot of people had gone, oh, that's a bit lame, that, isn't it?
It's not really a surprise when we already know that they're in the company. A lot of people are speculating, Wade Barrett and Jack Swagger and stuff.
It's a smart adjustment from a self-created problem. And the match itself is going to rule. And I think they've probably got something cool lined up for the end of the show anyway. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what happens, particularly when when Santana and Rob Thomas wrestle with the Young Bucks. I think Adam Wilborn.
Smooth.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Anyway, on to our next story. We're going to talk a little bit about Cody Rhodes, or just Cody, the American Nightmare. He has done a pre-AEW Dynamite media call, answering questions from the media, talked about a number of different subjects, one of which was the topic of WWE holding the Rhodes family name hostage. Are they still doing it? Can he use it? Well, the answer to that question is yes. Cody said, I can use it. I won't use it, though. That's not everyone's favourite answer, but I got the rub off that name plenty. The reason I don't use it is I got so used to being the American Nightmare Cody in Japan, and I love that. I got the rub off Dusty and my family name long enough. Obviously, Cody was born Cody Garrett, I think his middle name is, Runnels. But when he was transferred out of WWE, or when he was released by WWE and went on the Indies, the running joke of why he was being announced as Cody and Brandy Rhodes when coming to the ring with his wife was to get around not being able to use the surname. But now, perhaps the trademark's expired and he just doesn't give an F.
Yeah, I think we all know who he is. And like you say, if he comes out as Cody or as Cody Rhodes, whatever happens, we recognise him. I'm very happy for him, and this AEW venture of his has worked out phenomenally. So whatever you want to call him, he's still crap at math.
He is crap at math. That was another thing from his media call. He was speaking about his previous claim that only 40% of the AEW roster had been revealed, and basically said, nah, that's wrong. I made a mistake because I'm bad at math. Did you? You made a mistake. Little wink, wink, wink. I looked like I was kind of just flipping out there. That was weird. He also talked about Kenny Omega's comments on NXT, disparaging remarks the other week, said, he was just having a bit of fun and he was just working, which is kind of what we all knew in the first place. So.
Right, let's move on to our final news story of the day, and interesting developments in the independent scene and, well, for wrestling going forward, I suppose, because Rikishi and the Samoan Dynasty?
Dynasty? That's
Ketchup. Catsup. Anyway, we've got this exclusive footage to show you now of Rikishi and the Samoan Dynasty, who basically invaded an all-pro wrestling show at the weekend in North California. Now, Jacob Fatu had just been eliminated from the Battle Royale, Royal Rumble, whatever you want to call it, they were just having, at which point Rikishi and this new Samoan Dynasty came out, beat everyone down, and then Rikishi got on the mic and cut a blistering promo.
The time is here. You see, make no mistake about it. When you look at the dynasty, we mean business. We're not trying to work. We're not trying to come in here and act like all these other clowns throughout the world. Let me make this very clear. The Bay Area is the Samoan Dynasty. And I'm here on behalf of all my family members here that I'm sick and tired of not getting the credit that we deserve. I'm sick and tired of all the WWE games that they play with my family members. And you want to talk about elite? You want to talk about elite? Well, goddammit, you're looking at the elite, and it's the Samoan Dynasty. So it goes like this, and you can make no mistake about it, this is going to shock the world. The Dynasty is not playing games no more. No more Mr. Nice Guys. No more playing politics. We just gonna come from the streets, from the islands like we used to. And if we gotta bite your head up, well, goddammit, that's what we're gonna do. The legacy of Dynasty lives on. And AEW Bay Area, you're the first stop for the hit list of the Samoan Dynasty.
A hit list, but we don't know who they're going after. Now, invasion storylines in the past haven't worked well, but we've seen with stuff like the Bullet Club that this stuff can really get over.
Yeah.
And I, for one, cannot wait to see what happens with this. I'm fascinated. For something that, just dropped into our laps, this is exclusive footage, as I said, for us. I'm astonished, and I can't wait to see where we go from here.
It's really cool, especially having a guy like Jacob Fatu at the center, one of the hottest stars on the indies at the moment, one of the hottest unsigned wrestlers on the planet. I guess he signed to MLW, but those contracts are weird. It's cool stuff. I'm really excited to see what comes of this, really excited to see what kind of buzz they can generate and what kind of companies this might spread over. However, Jacob Fatu is probably a guy that's on AEW and WWE's radar. Do you think there's a chance it could spill over into one of those promotions if he gets signed?
Potentially, but I just, the visual of that when them all stood together and Rikishi front and center, I thought was amazing. But let us know your thoughts on the Samoan Dynasty going forward and the wrestling world being put on notice.
Anyway, we're gonna get to some questions now, but Twitter's broken. It's 9:30 in the morning and Twitter is absolutely borked here in the United Kingdom.
What are we gonna do? Work?
Well, what I've done, Adam Wilborn, is that I have gone around the WhatCulture office. I have spoken to all 2 of the wrestling team members who were in at 8:30 when I did this, and I have got a handful of questions to sacrifice. To substitute. Apologies, everyone who sent us your lovely questions on Twitter, but we're working overnight like morons, so we'll have more questions for you.
If we've got an afternoon today, I'll make sure they do some in that.
There we go. Throw them in. Nice compromise. Anyway, first question comes from Benroy Turner, who asks, how long do you think Chris Jericho will be AEW champion?
I don't sense them hot potato in that belt very quickly. I think that would already, tar themselves with a bit of a bad reputation. I don't see him holding it for like a year, probably like 6 months. I think 6 months, just have him as that annoying figurehead that everyone's trying to dethrone. 6 months in, you have someone take it off him, and then he's served his purpose, I think, as AEW World Champion. I think he was the right pick to be the inaugural AEW World Champion. He's the right pick going forward for the first few weeks and months on TV. But I think then he needs to hand it off to whoever's they perceive to be the next big thing. Maybe Moxley, who knows?
I love that answer. I disagree with absolutely none of it. I want 6 months of Chris Jericho making memes and crushing dreams.
Lovely.
Anyway, question number 2 also comes from Benroy Turner.
Thanks, Benroy.
Who asks, as a continuation of that one, how long do you think Chris Jericho needs to be champion? Would it hurt the belt if he lost it quickly? Or does he need a long run to make it more prestigious?
I think he does need a long run to make it more prestigious. I think he needs to make it this prize that should be sought after and clawed and fought for. And with the whole wins and losses thing that they've got going on, you can't really just have someone go, I would fetch for that belt, and then they just win the belt. They should have a process where the person who does eventually dethrone him has to go over some serious hurdles, whether it be number 1 contenders matches, whether it be winning some sort of shot at the belt through a rumble or whatever. What else? Yes, I think it does. I think losses will hurt the belt. A hot potato in any belt makes it seem less important. You remember back to the good old days when people had to scratch and claw for it now, and then nowadays you've got the tag belts. I was looking back at old tag victories, and it's like, oh, finally they've won these tag belts, and now it's just like, oh, you have the belts, you have the belts.
Your turn,
you're
not
even
up.
a tag team, you can have the belts. So yeah, I think he should just, I'm not saying that he should just win matches, all the matches clean. He should win some clean. He shouldn't always cheat to win. But yeah, he should hold it for a while, and it should be something that, you really have to, I like, the training footage and stuff like that. All that sort of stuff. I love all that.
Yeah, I do think he needs a long reign to make it prestigious as well. Adds so much to the belt, particularly as it's the first reign. It needs to be established. Final question comes from Michael Hamflet, or Big Daddy Walter, as he's also known around these parts. He asks, tonight's AEW Dynamite is going to be great. Yes. But which roster member do you think is going to come out of it looking the worst?
Looking the worst?
Interesting one, this. Tough one as well.
I think Sammy Guevara is only going to be elevated by facing someone like Cody. I think that 3-on-3 match is going to be amazing. Is it Brandon Cutler MJF's facing?
Yeah, Brandon Cutler.
Brandon Cutler's not going to look bad in terms of wrestling. It's just anyone who gets a promo cut on them by MJF is subsequently worse. So Brandon Cutler.
Yeah, Brandon Cutler I think would be my answer as well. To throw someone a little bit different in there, I'm going to say Kenny Omega. I think that I'm not particularly drawn to this broken Kenny angle they seem to be doing on Being the Elite. He's already lost a number of high-profile matches. They are playing a very risky game with the company ace by presenting him in such a negative light so far. They've done it by design, on purpose, of course. It's all part of the storyline, so that when he eventually comes back, it'll be like this great comeback story. The ace is back, Kenny's back at his best and all this stuff. I think it'll be Kenny Omega, and I think it will be by design, and that's fine.
Yes.
That's how you tell stories.
Right, let's move on to today's and finally, and as you mentioned, Twitter is broken, but I'm going to give a quick shout out to something I saw last night, and that is something that we can all learn from as we head towards NXT versus AEW tonight. The Young Bucks and Mauro Ranallo just being nice to each other on Twitter. The Young Bucks wishing Mauro Ranallo luck tonight on NXT. Mauro responding in kind, saying, you guys have a great show as well, let's just all be nice to each other. Look, this is the best week in the world of wrestling. Remember the dark days when it was just WWE? If you like that sort of thing, that's fine, but you needed an alternative. We've got an alternative now, and whether you're a Team WWE, Team AEW, or like you should be, just Team Wrestling, don't pick a side and pick faults in everything else. We do it in the office as a bit of a gimmick, but in reality, we both want every show to succeed. If you like wrestling, you should want all shows to succeed, and just be nice to each other.
Yeah.
Let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And you can subscribe to What Culture Wrestling for daily wrestling podcasts too, wherever you get your podcast from. Just search for What Culture Wrestling. And you can send us Twitter questions when Twitter works again at WhatCultureWWE. When it works again, follow both of us. You can follow him at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Hamlet Eats Wasps.
He does. He does. For lunch.
And he drinks piss.
You can follow me at Adam Will when he follows all at WhatCultureWWE. My thanks, Danny Murray. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.
Get the hell off.
Get off, don't you touch me.